Hi students, there is a news related to Indian history. The news is about Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Here news is leaders pay tribute to Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose on 125th birth anniversary. In this context, we are dealing in detail about what is the contribution of Subhash Chandra Bose to our India's freedom movement. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the hologram statue of Netaji at India Gate. Here you can see hologram statue also. January 23rd this year marks 125th anniversary. In this context, there are some announcements also. Republic Day celebrations will start on January 23rd. So far, from January 24th onwards, Republic Day celebrations used to take place and they used to continue till January 30, the day Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated. From this year onwards, there was a little change. From January 23rd itself, one day before the regular practice, Republic Day celebrations do start. It is honoring our beloved Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. The Modi government had earlier announced, there is another announcement also. Bose's birth anniversary was celebrated as Parakram Divas. On this day, whoever contributed for disaster management, they would be awarded on this day. So likewise, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose birthday was celebrated. Now, let us see in detail about Subhash Chandra Bose, what is his personal details and what is his contribution and what kind of contribution he made for India's freedom struggle. Subhash Chandra Bose, here you can see some basic details. He was born in Cuttack. In 1919, Bose headed to London to give the Indian Civil Services exam and he was selected for that. Bose, however, resigned from civil services as he believed he could not side with the British. So, Indian Civil Services, it was an instrument of British imperialism. British colonialists were using Indian civil services as an instrument to exploit the British Indians. He felt that joining Indian civil service is like joining with British colonial exploitation. So he resigned and he come out of the civil service. He joined the national freedom movement. In 1921, you remember in 1921, it was the days of non-cooperation movement, and during non-cooperation movement, he met Gandhi after reaching India and participated in the non-cooperation movement. He was highly influenced by Vivekananda's teachings and considered Vivekananda as his spiritual guru. His political mentor was Chittaranjan Das. So these are the stalwarts of those times. He considered Swami Vivekananda as his spiritual guru and his political mentor was Chittaranjan Das. Like Gandhiji considered Gopalakrishna Gokhale as his political guru. Bose and Chittaranjan Das were arrested in 1921 during non-cooperation movement for successfully organizing a boycott against the Prince of Wales' visit to India and were sentenced to 6 months imprisonment. So, jail life also started in his lifetime. Upon his release in 21, Bose took over the editorship of a newspaper started by or founded by Chittaranjan Das, Swaraj Party. That newspaper is Forward. In 23, he was elected the president of All India Youth Congress and also secretary of Bengal State Congress. He joined the Indian National Congress and he was elected as state secretary of Bengal State Congress also and All India Youth Congress. He was also sent to prison in Mandale in 1925 due to his connections with revolutionary movements. Whenever British government gets an opportunity, it used to crack the opposition, it used to arrest the leaders and they used to send to different areas like Andaman, like Mandale, Erravade jail. So there are different jails across the country. They were sent to different locations. Like Balagangadhar Tilak, he was also sentenced before the after Swadeshi movement. 6 years rigorous imprisonment was given to Balagangadhar Tilak and was sent to Mandale prison. So here you can connect with various other political freedom fighters as well. In 1928, when it comes to 1928, during the time it was the time of boycott of Simon Commission. All India protests started when Simon Commission was appointed by the British. Simon Commission was a white commission. No Indian was represented in the commission. Indians boycotted. They felt insulted because India is such a vast country and British felt there is no one from India to represent them, to get or to recommend what is important for India's political future. So Simon Commission, when the moment Simon Commission was appointed, there were huge protests. Under these circumstances, Motilal Nehru and the Nehru Committee was formed, or Nehru Report was also developed during this particular point of time. So it was under these circumstances in 1928 the Motilal Nehru Committee appointed by Congress declared in favor of dominion status, but Subhash Chandra Bose along with Jawaharlal Nehru opposed it, and both asserted that they would be satisfied with nothing short of complete independence for India. So these people are representing Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose. They are the representatives of youth. Youth wanted complete independence, whereas the older generation under leadership of Motilal Nehru, they wanted dominion status. So that time dominion status was also not granted by the British. The youth wing led by these two, Subhash Chandra Bose and Jawaharlal Nehru, wanted complete independence. Subhash also announced the formation of Indian Independence League. A particular organization was also created by Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose. Their main aim was to get complete independence from British Empire. In 1930, he was elected mayor of Calcutta. The same year, he was elected president of All India Trade Union Congress. So here you can see All India National Congress, which is representing the Indian freedom struggle at that time, and All India Trade Union Congress, which is giving the voice to the concerns of trade unions, worker class. So in different platforms he is represented and he contributed his ideas and his efforts for freedom struggle. In 1930s, he was closely associated with left politics. In Congress, along with Jawaharlal Nehru, Congress Socialists, Communists and M.N. Roy. M.N. Roy, who was the founder of Communist Party of India, he established Communist Party of India in Tashkent. Later, Communist Party of India established in India later. So M.N. Roy, he was very important communist leader of those times. Subhash Chandra Bose had close contacts with communist people and communist ideology and socialist ideology. Subhash Chandra Bose was jailed during civil disobedience movement in 1930. He was released in 31 after Gandhi-Irvine Pact was signed. 1930 civil disobedience movement, also called Salt March. Many leaders were arrested. Many leaders, once again, after the Gandhi-Irvine Pact, leaders were released, and on the condition that Gandhiji would represent Indian National Congress in second roundtable conference. However, Subhash Chandra Bose protested against the Gandhi-Irvine Pact and opposed the suspension of civil disobedience movement. After the Gandhi-Irvine Pact, Gandhiji suspended civil disobedience movement till the time he attended second roundtable conference, and if there is no success, then civil disobedience would be continued. So same thing happened. Gandhiji attended second roundtable conference. Nothing important came out of it. Once again, civil disobedience movement was resumed. This is also called second phase of civil disobedience movement. During mid-1930s, Bose travelled in Europe. He researched and wrote the first part of his book, The Indian Struggle, which covered the country's independence movement in the years 1920 to 34. So he recorded the freedom struggle also in his book. After his return, Bose took over as elected president of Indian National Congress in 1938. These are two important great historical sessions of Indian National Congress. Haripur session, here he became the elected, and another one is Tripuri. Haripur session and Tripuri crisis, two important things in history of freedom movement. In 1938, stood for unqualified Swaraj, that is self-governance and use of force against British, which then combated against Mahatma Gandhi and his views. On one hand, Gandhiji was propagating peace, non-violence as the methods or weapons to fight against the British to gain independence. Whereas youth leaders like Subhash Chandra Bose, they are unhappy with these methods and they are not hesitant to use even force to get independence from British colonialism. He also formed a national planning committee which formulated a policy of broad industrialization. He had strong leaning towards socialist ideas and communist ideas. So under these circumstances, he was instrumental in creating National Planning Committee. Later, after independence, gradually it turned into a planning commission as well. Bose was re-elected in 1939 in Tripuri, but soon resigned from the presidency and formed All India Forward Bloc, a faction within Congress which aimed at consolidating the political left. So he wanted to consolidate. He felt that the Congress led by Gandhiji and his ideology is not suitable for him, and he wanted to consolidate the leftist ideology and socialist ideology. He created organization All India Forward Bloc as a faction within Congress. Subhash Chandra Bose was re-elected, defeating Dr. Pattabi Sitaramaya, who had been backed by Mahatma Gandhi and Congress Working Committee. Pattabi Sitaramaya, he was supported by Gandhiji, whereas other people supported Subhash Chandra Bose. Subhash Chandra Bose won the elections. However, he resigned. He felt that under such circumstances, he cannot continue functioning. In day-to-day administration, it is not possible for him to work like that, so he resigned from the presidency. Later, after this, government took the advantage of disunity among the ranks. He was arrested. Then he escaped from India. He went to Nazi Germany and he met Hitler also. In Nazi Germany, Bose came under tutelage of a newly created Special Bureau for India. He opened Free India Center in Berlin. He and other Indians who had gathered in Berlin made regular broadcasts from German-sponsored Azad Hind Radio beginning in January 1942. In 1939 onwards, Second World War started. During this time period, Subhash Chandra Bose, he went to Germany and he met the administration of Nazi Germany, and he tried to propagate the freedom. He tried to took up the cause of India's independence from Berlin. He was speaking, this radio was used to give lectures in English, Hindi, Bengali, Tamil, Telugu, Gujarati, Pashto, different local languages as well. On July 4th, 1943, he assumed leadership of Indian independence movement in East Asia and proceeded with Japanese aid and influence to form a trained army of about 40,000 troops. In 1943, he came from Germany and again he reached to Southeast Asia. There, what happened when Japanese attacked Indian battalion or British battalion, British officers abandoned Indian soldiers and they came out. So now these Indian soldiers became captives of Japanese army. This particular group was now, leadership is given to this group by Subhash Chandra Bose, and he created a wing called Azad Hind Fauj. On October 21st, 1943, Bose proclaimed the establishment of a provisional independent Indian government and his so-called Indian National Army, Azad Hind Fauj. Now, alongside Japanese troops, now both Japanese army and this Indian army joined together, advanced to Rangoon or Yangon, and hence reached overland into India. So they wanted to enter into Indian subcontinent through Mandal or through Rangoon. Reaching Indian soil on March 18, 1944 and moving into Kohima and the plains of Imphal, there they were defeated by the Britishers and British took captives. British made these people prisoners of war. In July 43, he renames the Indian National Army as Azad Hind Fauj or Free Indian Army. In a stubborn battle, the mixed Indian and Japanese forces lacking Japanese air support were defeated and forced to retreat. The Indian National Army, maintaining its identity as a liberation army, maintained its base in Burma. So many of them were arrested. Later, famous Red Fort trials also given on these prisoners of war, Indian National Army soldiers. With the defeat of Japan in 1945, Japan was completely defeated. It was decimated by throwing 2 atomic bombs on Japanese soil. Japan surrendered. However, Bose's fortune there ended. A few days after Japan's announcement surrender in August 1945, Bose, fleeing Southeast Asia, reportedly died in a Japanese hospital in Taiwan as a result of burn injuries from a plane crash. However, this has no concrete evidence, and still after independence also some commissions were formed to really inquire about the cause of death of Subhash Chandra Bose. But it is mainly believed that he died due to plane crash. Azad Hind Fauj, a brief description about Azad Hind Fauj. Bose arrived in Singapore in 1943 at the invitation of revolutionary freedom fighter Rash Bihari Bose. He was the Rash Bihari Bose. He was appointed president of Indian Independence League at a formal ceremony in Singapore and took over from Rash Bihari Bose as leader of Indian Independence League in East Asia. Before Subhash Chandra Bose, Rash Bihari Bose provided the leadership, and when Subhash Chandra Bose went there, he took the leadership. His famous slogan are "Tum mujhe khoon do, मैं तुझे आज़ादी दूंगा, जय हिंद and Delhi Chalo" are some of the slogans, popular slogans given by Subhash Chandra Bose. And he is known for his militant approach that he used to gain independence and for his socialist policies. He was very vocal about his socialist policies, and he is very vocal about he was not hesitant to use force against the British imperialists to gain independence for Mother India. He was hailed as Netaji by the army as well as by the Indian civilian population in East Asia. Azad Hind Fauj proceeded towards India to liberate it from British rule and first liberated Andaman Nicobar Islands. In the initial stages it was successful, whereas when it tried to enter from mainland, from Myanmar region, they were surrendered. INA headquarters was shifted to Rangoon in January 1944. So this is about Azad Hind Fauj. Later, Azad Hind Fauj or Indian National Army prisoners, they were captivated by British imperialists, and finally they were put to Red Fort, trials in Red Fort, famous Red Fort. Many freedom fighters or lawyers, nationalist lawyers, they took up the cause and they pleaded before the British judges. Finally, they were given amnesty. This is what Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose briefly about life of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. So this year is 125th birth anniversary of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Thank you.